Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of reading through the Raising a Psychopath blog post on the Wayback Machine. I want to say sorry for the time it took for this one to get out compared to the other ones. I had a quick trip to Philadelphia and back and kind of put my timeline behind a little bit, so sorry about that, but I want to say thank you for sticking around. I'm also going to try to keep this one a bit shorter than the last one, so let's get right into it. Really quick, the last video was going through all of the characteristics to go over whether or not his child was a psychopath or not, and then he rated them at the end. He gave him a 35 overall, which is extremely high, obviously. So we're going to see how he feels about that rating here. We're carrying on from the November posts. This was posted on November 11th, 2008 on a Tuesday. Differential Diagnosis Reactive Attachment Disorder, or RAD. Lucas has already been diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder. He has most of the signs of RAD, and he certainly has the background that would cause it. I agree with this diagnosis. So let's look at the treatment for RAD. There are several therapists around the country that claim to offer RAD treatment. They usually involve some method of forcing the child to attach by using very intensive sessions that are both emotionally and financially draining on the parents. Many of these therapies are controversial, and some, like certain forms of holding therapy, has been condemned by several professional organizations. Each therapist has his or her own theory on how to fix the problem. Walter D. Buning, PhD of Associates, writes this about his version of the attachment. RAD children are almost always intensely angry children. If therapy is effective, it will constructively address the child's anger. One of the therapeutic goals is to reduce the child's anger. When it works, this is a sign of success. Hence, the label rage reduction therapy was fitting. Present attachment therapies, however, address a broader range of emotions, including intense fear and sadness. All attachment therapy of which I am aware has an emphasis on addressing the child's troubling emotions, versus being only a cognitive or behavioral approach. But Lucas is not angry. He has shown absolutely no anger over his situation. He is not afraid or sad. He has very few and very shallow emotions rather than the intense ones Boning describes, so I doubt this approach would be effective. In fact, none of the attachment therapies available have been scientifically proven to work. No scientifically established treatments exist for RAD because it is relatively new and rare psychiatric disorder. There is very little reliable information regarding the diagnosis and treatment of RAD. Attachment therapy is an expensive, exhausting, frustrating, and most importantly, unproven method of dealing with RAD. For these reasons, I hesitate to use this approach. Maybe I wouldn't be as hesitant if RAD was Lucas's only problem, but it's not. RAD explains many of Lucas's behaviors, but doesn't explain them all. There is more going on than just RAD. Differential Diagnosis 2, Alcohol-Related Neurodevelopmental Disorder, ARND. I strongly suspect that Lucas has some form of parental alcohol and or drug exposure. We have no specific record of Lucas's birth mother using alcohol while pregnant. We do have record of her being in methadone for a time, which indicates heroin use. But the records do not say if that was while she was pregnant. Given other things we know about his birth mother, it is not a huge leap to assume that she was using at least something while she was pregnant. Lucas shows none of the physical signs of fetal alcohol syndrome. Whatever effects the drug/alcohol use had, I'm sure it is much more subtle. The same physical signs don't seem to exist for children of heroin users. Instead, they show problems in different ways. Quote, long-range effects of heroin exposure on infant development are not clear-cut, although may be associated with lower IQ, attention and behavioral problems, and insecure, disorganized attachment. End quote. Development inventory by Michael E. Lamb, Mark H. Bornstein, and Douglas M. Tetty. Why do we see these effects from alcohol/drug abuse? According to the CDC, quote, brain images of some people in the FAS show that certain areas have not developed normally. The images show that certain cells are not in their proper place and tissue have died in some areas, end quote. In researching ARND, I came across some great information here. I'll link that below if you are interested in reading it. It is interesting that the strategies for parents that this document offers are almost exactly the ones that were developed completely on our own, before we really started thinking about the cause of Lucas's behavior. This tells me that our approach towards dealing with the issues has so far been correct. I feel good about that. And if this were the extent of Lucas's problems, I wouldn't be writing this blog today. AR&D explains many of Lucas's behaviors, but it doesn't explain them all. There is more going on than just AR&D. Thursday, November 13th, 2008. Put them together. What do you get when you have a child who was neglected in infancy and therefore can't attach to its caregiver, RAD, and who may very well have a neurological attachment impairment, ARND? A child who has limited emotions, RAD, and lacks in cognitive skills to work around the problem, ARND. A child who naturally has behavior problems, ARND, and doesn't have the emotional connection to help regulate those problems, RAD. A child who lies because their brain has difficulty retrieving the truth, so lying is just easier, ARND, and they don't care enough to try to get the truth out, RAD. A child whose brain is damaged both neurologically, ARND, and emotionally, RAD. A child whose problems were caused both before birth, ARND, and immediately after birth, RAD, and there was no way to go back and fix them. A child whose problems have absolutely no scientifically proven treatment or cure and are each considered permanent, both ARND and RAD. You get a child who simply doesn't have the ability to either emotionally or logically to participate in society in a healthy way, and probably never will. You get a textbook definition of a psychopath. The comment section here once again kind of ring out against the father saying that he's given up on his child already, and that is kind of what it seems like a little bit, considering I keep saying there's no actual cure for this, so what's the point of trying to cure someone that doesn't have a cure? In the post for November 15th, 2008, How to Treat a Psychopath, he kind of just adds a bunch of quotes from notable doctors in the field that I'll put on screen here, but I don't really think warrant a read-through because it's very short, so I'll skip to the next one. And once again, the next post, if you can't treat a psychopath, how do you deal with one? November 18th, 2008. This is also more just quotes from notable doctors in the field regarding how to treat psychopaths and what to do with them. Some saying to just avoid them. Others speak about how hard it is as a parent to deal with a child that has these symptoms and these issues as well. So I'm going to put this up on the screen again, but once again, I don't really think it warrants a read through because it is just a bunch of quotes. We finally left November and we are in December for the December update, December 19th, 2008. Just wanted to update those who have been following along. I'm taking a break from writing for a bit because it's rather time consuming and because this is such a difficult subject. It's nice to take a break from time to time. I'm also not motivated to write because lately things have been going relatively well. For the past few months, Lucas's behavior has been mostly under control, not perfect but not overwhelming either. I think that my new understanding and new approaches with him are the reason for much of the change. Not all, but a lot. I'm also seeing a general maturing in him that I haven't seen before, which is a good sign. But the biggest change I've noticed is in myself. I am a lot calmer than I was. I'm not nearly as frustrated. I feel more in control of my life. And most of all, I'm actually happy. I've been happy for a while now, which is something I haven't experienced for a long time, and it comes from finally understanding the problem. No longer am I surprised by many of Lucas's behaviors. I can predict them and understand why he's doing them. No longer am I frustrated by behavior modification methods that don't work. I have a good idea of the effectiveness of each method before I use it. No longer am I confused by all the conflicting approaches and advice from family and friends and therapists. I can tell almost instantly who gets it and who doesn't. No longer am I overly worried that I'm doing the wrong thing or that I should be doing more. For the first time in 5 years, I found something that actually works. It appears to be working for Lucas, and I know it's working for me. If anything, I think I actually feel closer to him, because now I understand him, and I think that maybe he is starting to realize that I understand him. It is certainly subtle, and maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I'm hopeful. I found myself going back to the Dexter reference. Dexter says over and over that his father was the only person who really understood him. He admits to a connection with his dad, maybe not an attachment, but at least a connection. That's a start. Now, I'm going to preface this section with an explicit warning, like he does. He writes explicit descriptions of upsetting behavior, not for the faint of heart, and I have read through this obviously already, and it is kind of upsetting. I don't know what I have to bleep out here, but again, I'm going to link it down below so you can read it yourself in the full. But yeah, let's get into this one. Saturday, January 17th, 2009. Maybe I should be happy that he showed an emotion. Yesterday morning, I walked into Lucas's room to tell him that it was time to go to school. I noticed a lot of stuffing, like from a pillow or a stuffed animal, all over his floor. I asked him where it came from. He said it was stuffing from a stuffed animal. He said he wasn't sure which one. I told him to find out and give me that animal. I returned about 10 minutes later and asked for the animal. He said he still wasn't sure which one. I told him that I knew he was lying. He denied it. I insisted that he really does know which one. He admitted that he did and reluctantly handed over the Tiger, a stuffed pit bull, his favorite. I put Tiger upstairs and we left for school. At about 5 p.m., I picked him up and we talked a bit more about Tiger and the stuffing. I asked him why he was destroying his favorite toy. He insisted he was not destroying it. I explained that obviously he was, because while beans will just fall out of a stuffed animal through a little hole, fibrous stuffing will not. It needs to be pulled out. He started to cry in an angry way and insisted that whatever he told me I wouldn't believe, so why say anything? I asked him to tell me his side of the story, and he said he could prove it to me. He suggested I go get her and see for myself that the hole was big enough that stuffing would just fall out of her. This is the first time I heard Lucas refer to Tiger as her, and the fact that he emphasized the her twice in the conversation struck me as a bit odd. When we got home, I sent Lucas to a corner and went upstairs to examine Tiger. Tiger had a large hole between her hind legs, large enough for stuffing to fall out of it if properly manipulated. I sat Lucas down and told him that yes, the hole was big enough for stuffing to fall out. Then I asked him to explain how the hole got there in the first place. He told me that he was angry at us, so he took a pencil and some thumbtacks and struck Tiger several times. After doing this repeatedly and on several occasions, the hole formed and grew. He also admitted to sticking pencils and thumbtacks into the necks of another of his stuffed animals because he was angry at us. This fact he had no problem telling me. I focused on Tiger and asked him why the hole was where it was. Why wasn't the hole in Tiger's side or in his head? He said that part was just the closest. I asked him if he stuck anything else into Tiger. He was silent for a long time. I asked him if he stuck his fingers into Tiger. He nodded. I asked if he stuck anything else into Tiger. He started crying and admitted that he stuck his into Tiger. I asked him how often he did this. He admitted to doing this once or twice a week for about 2 months. I asked him again why the hole was located where it was. He finally admitted that he made the hole there because that is where the hole on a girl is. I understand the sex part. He was acting out things that he has seen. It's the violence that concerns me. Stabbing, ripping, especially this particular part of the body, all done while angry at us. This is something new. Then again, maybe I should be happy that he actually showed an emotion. Monday, April 27, 2009. April update. Over Christmas break, Lucas had a significant violation of his probation involving theft, and he appeared before the judge in mid-January, right around the time of my last post. She put a good scare in him, threatening to send him to juvenile detention center for the weekend. What she actually did is place him on intensive probation, which meant he got a slightly tougher probation officer who visited several times each week, both in school and at home. As a result, from mid-January through late March, life with Lucas improved, if only slightly. Lucas continued working with his therapist, who comes to our house every week and spends 2 hours working on his thinking errors. We like this therapist only because, unlike the 7 or 8 that came before, this one seems to understand the problem and seems to sympathize with us. That is at least something. When you're going through a process that you pretty much realize is futile, it helps to be working with someone who understands why you feel that way, rather than, in some subtle way, blaming you for not caring more. This mobile therapist works in conjunction with Lucas's psychiatrist, who he sees every month, and Lucas's psychologist, who he sees every 3 months for evaluation. In addition to these 3, we also had a behavior specialist and another therapist who specializes in sexual offenders. We had to drop these last 2 because we found that seeing 5 different support specialists at the same time, plus a probation officer several times per week, plus regular meetings with school guidance counselor, plus regular visits with the judge, became overwhelming. Lucas was rarely in class and we were rarely at work. Having both of our bosses upset with us for missing so much time only added to the significant stress we had at home. So the slight improvement in Lucas's behavior was a welcome change, of course, that didn't last. About 2 months ago, Lucas's therapist team finally convinced us to try medication. My wife and I knew full well that medication would have no positive effect. We feared that giving him something that would, quote-unquote, help him think better would only make him a better criminal. Lucas's team felt that with a kid like Lucas, you have to, quote, throw everything you've got at him to make them happy. We gave in. Lucas started on a low dose of Abilify just to see if he could tolerate it. We saw no change. They then increased his dosage to the normal amount. At this point, we started to notice an increase in lying and sneaking things. Now, a month after the start of the full dosage, we can report the following. Lucas cut a hole in another stuffed animal and used it to masturbate. Lucas used a handle of a plunger to experiment with on himself. He then smeared the blood from his experiment on the bathroom wall. Lucas poked several holes through the shared wall between his bedroom and our guest bathroom so that he could spy on his babysitter. It is the third one that we are now dealing with. Lucas will have to confess this to the judge the next time he goes to court. We don't know what the judge's reaction will be. Last week, Lucas's therapist told us she was amazed. After the 9 months of weekly therapy she has given him, after all the approaches we have tried, after medication, and after all the structure and support that we, as parents, provided him, there's absolutely no sign of improvement on his thinking or behaviors. She's becoming a believer. In the comments section to this post is the first time I've seen somebody call out that this is probably a hoax, and for kind of a funny reason too. I think the issue that they have with it is that Lucas was able to poke a hole through a wall in a house, and that he claims that this is probably fake because of something like that, where somebody responds saying that Rhode Island architecture is actually extremely weak and could be easily done with a spoon. So, Tuesday, April 28th, 2009, The Moral Dilemma. I'm asking for your help. Lucas is on lockdown imposed by us. He is not allowed outside the house unless escorted by one of us. School is the only exception. Inside the house, he is not allowed to watch TV, play video games, or listen to the radio. Most of his toys have been confiscated, and we don't play with him. He spends most of the day sitting in his room, reading or staring at the ceiling. Every once in a while, he mentions that he is bored, and otherwise he is quite happy with the arrangement. We have been in full lockdown for 8 months now. As I've mentioned before, we maintain this lockdown because only under these conditions is he mostly well behaved. Any little bit of freedom we give him causes him to noticeably act out. For example, last Friday I took him to see a movie. The next day, he drilled little smile holes in the bathroom wall. These two events are related. We would not have felt the freedom to do this if I hadn't taken him to the movie the day before. I have seen this pattern over and over with him. I know in my heart with 100% certainty that Lucas will make a poor choice if he is given any leeway. I fear the day when he is 15 or 16 and he gets out from under our control and seriously hurts someone physically. He needs to live in a place where he can't do that, where he can't get out and hurt someone, and that place is not our home. We are simply not equipped to maintain control forever. Summer is coming. A number of Lucas's therapists are asking us what we will do with him over the summer. Will he be allowed outside? Will he participate in sports or camps? Will he be allowed to do anything more than he is doing right now? Or will he remain under full lockdown? So I'm asking you, what should we do? Should we protect our friends and neighbors and maintain full lockdown with only TV and radio privileges? Or should we give him freedom, allow him outside, sign him up for sports, send him away to day camp at the local YMCA? If we give him some freedom, we will be knowingly exposing others to a danger that they cannot comprehend. That seems morally wrong to me. And yet, we know that if he is not allowed out now, he will only get out at age 15 or 16 and really do some damage. That seems even more morally wrong to me. So do we use that fact that he is in a probation to our advantage? I know how horrible this sounds, but do we set him up for failure? Do we allow him access to the unsuspecting world and then sit back and wait for him to screw up and hope it's enough for the judge to put him in a secure facility? The justification being that we would be choosing the lesser of two evils, something moderately bad now or something really bad later. I know that many of you will say we should allow him some freedom, not to set him up for failure because he may surprise us and not do anything bad. But before you answer, imagine that you had a 12-year-old daughter, how you would feel if you sent Lucas to her day camp, to play on her sports teams, to run around her neighborhood. Other than us, there is simply no one else available in our area who can watch him as closely as it needs to be watched. What should we do? In this post, a lot of the comments are actually saying that they understand what they're going through and that they are glad that they found somebody on the internet that understands, the dilemma that they have with their child that also seems to be a psychopath. And also a lot of people are saying that they should let him out and that you're being too hard on him and that'll cause him to act out later, basically. So I'll put some of the comments here. Friday, July 3rd, 2009. Finally, an accurate assessment. It took 2 years of hand-holding, but I think the system finally understands what it's dealing with. We feel that someone is finally listening. Below is a latest report from a court-appointed evaluator. To whom it may concern, I initially completed a sex offender evaluation on Lucas after he was charged for breaking into his neighbor's home, searching through the neighbor's lingerie, and took a picture of his erection with a digital camera. Sexual specific treatment was recommended at the time to also include addressing his symptoms of reaction attachment disorder, avoidance and resistance of parental comfort and attachment, and oppositional defiant disorder, a pattern of negative, hostile, and defiant behavior. He also displays characteristics of conduct disorder, which is a persistent pattern of violating the rules against the rights of society and others. His dynamic risk factors place him at a moderate to high risk for sexual reoffending. They include deviant sexual interest, obsessive sexual interest, preoccupation with sexual thoughts, attitude supportive of sexual offending, unwillingness to alter deviant sexual interests or attitudes, antisocial interpersonal orientations, lack of intimate peer relationships, negative peer associations and influences, problematic parent-offender relationships. Lucas returned to my office recently in order to be assessed again after he carved holes in the stuffed animal's genital areas and his mattress for the purpose of masturbating, inserting a plunger handle and a mini baseball bat into his anus, which caused bleeding. Downloaded $128 of pay-per-view and created holes in his bedroom wall in order to peep on his babysitter in the other bathroom. His risk for reoffending is very high at this point in time. Past negative behaviors have included habitual lying, threats, destruction of his own personal items, accepting Motrin from a friend when they thought they were steroids, stealing, convincing friends to store stolen items for him, and breaking and entering neighbors' homes 3 times. He has persistently failed to learn from mistakes and punishments. I reviewed the Hair Psychopathy for Adolescents, a 20-item assessment tool used in the mental health and criminal justice systems to assess the traditional construct of psychopathy. Psychopathy can be viewed as a personality disorder characterized by a constellation of traits including poor behavioral controls, irresponsibility, callousness, remorselessness, failure to form close emotional bonds, low anxiety proneness, and externalization of blame. The psychopathic personality is correlated with antisocial behavior and persistent criminality. Psychopathy can be found as a chronic immoral and antisocial behavior, and the presence of psychopathy increases the risk associated with violent recidivism. Lucas attained a score of 38.9 out of a possible 40 points. Now, if you remember, when his father originally put the test to him, he gave him only a 35, so this is 3.9, almost 4 points higher. Researchers has not yet established cutoff scores for adolescent psychopathy, so there is no indication that scores above a certain cut score will continue to score high on adult measures of future criminality and violent offending when the client is over the age of 18. Lucas's score falls in the extremely high scoring group. Antisocial personality disorder is basically the failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors and a lack of remorse at hurting or mistreating others. Early intervention may modify this pathway, but there is currently no proven therapy or medication that has been considered helpful. He was placed on Abilify that decreases impulsivity. However, it unfortunately allowed him to have more concentration to be a better criminal, so it was discontinued. Some professionals feel that talk therapy and teaching psychopaths things such as victim empathy only helps them to be better psychopaths because they learn additional information to manipulate others. Lucas shows little to no remorse or empathy for negative behaviors and often manipulates others for his personal gain. He lives selfishly in the here and now with no regard for future consequences. He waits for opportunities to act out and takes advantage of them when the time is right. There is no punishment or rewards that appear to have long-lasting effects on his negative and dangerous thinking and behaviors. This information may be useful in identifying his problem areas, planning treatment strategies, developing management strategies, and aiding in the assessment of risk for future antisocial and criminal acts. This is especially so when it is already known that this manipulative charm often serves to fool observers, and he may be unable to form a genuine alliance with any therapist. Lucas has expressed desire to be sent to a program in order to escape the strict rules his parents enforce. His parents have resorted to keeping a 24/7 watch on him. For the safety of the community, he is not permitted to leave his home independently except for going to school. His parents have installed security cameras, motion detectors, and door and window alarms in the home. They express fear toward their own son and have a keypad lock on their bedroom door. He most likely has not acted out more often solely because of his parents' dedication and commitment to preventing such opportunities. Recommendations. At this point in time, I am recommending that Lucas be placed in an acute diagnostic center. This intensive short-term program, approximately 45 days, will provide a more comprehensive investigative and problem-solving evaluation. Early identification of these youth likely to repeat violent offenders has important protective implications for society. Attempts to identify the psychopath in childhood or adolescence may improve treatment providers' ability to treat the disorder early in its development before personality styles become increasingly solidified. The center will offer him a safe, nurturing, protective environment while providing observations for a comprehensive evaluation and individualized recommendations for post-diagnostic therapeutic direction. It is a great concern that the most stable environment has been in his family home where he lives like an isolated prisoner. However, any other less restricted option at this point in time served to put society at risk for this young man. If you have any questions or need anything else for your records, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, name withheld. This post also has quite a few people arguing in the comment section, talking about how they don't believe this was written by a real psychiatrist or any kind of court-appointed evaluator. They think that that's probably a lie. And in some ways, I kind of agree with them. I kind of feel like the multiple times that they say that the parents are doing a great job keeping him in the house, it just seems a little odd to be written that way. Almost like maybe the author is kind of gassing his own performance up a little bit and pretending to be this person. I don't know. I'm still on the fence on whether or not this is real. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. As for this installment, we're going to end it here on the July 1st post just to keep this under a half hour. The other post was a bit too long, I think, so I want to keep this one within a reasonable length for you guys so I can get it out faster. Like I do before, I'm going to keep putting some more of the comments that I see underneath these posts up there so you guys can look at them, and I want to hear your thoughts on them if you have any. So I appreciate you guys stopping by and taking a listen again, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.